Hey Maverick Nation, and welcome back to Bullpen Bites with Supermav. Like I said in our last video here I'm going to start sharing with you some of our cheer guide that we give out to students and the Maverick Maniacs. So I'm actually going to be breaking this down into about 4 different segments in total. Well, since we are about 4 weeks out from some of those first games for the year, here with soccer starting up here with an exhibition game against St. Louis coming up August 10th. Official games will actually start counting coming up here August 15th. But without further ado, let's start breaking down some of the stuff that we actually have in our cheer guide. And let's kind of start out with some of our rules of engagement here for part 1 of 4. Or so, some of the stuff that we do have in that for our rules of engagement. Number 1, try and come about as early as you can. And gates will typically open up about an hour before our games. And of course, here's for those of you who have been around since the days back when hockey was playing downtown. And we do play at a smaller venue now for hockey and basketball. Oh well, maybe not so much for basketball. Baxter might be a little bit bigger than the arena at Ralston anymore. But it's a good idea to try and show up for games before the doors open, especially for your students, so that you can guarantee you got a place to sit during intermissions. And for those of you that do come and you have season tickets, or you just are walking up and getting tickets in general, this gives you a chance just to kind of get settled in. Get any food and drinks or snacks that you think you might need. Eat at least for the start of the game. And get to know your neighbors a little bit. Just kind of settle it and start getting ready for the game. Number 2, be loud. Now this rule is one of the few ironclad and absolute that we have. If you're not in church, you're not at the library, our general rule of thumb for games is if you come and you don't leave every game even at least slightly hoarse and with a mild headache, you're not being loud enough. Now, number 3, try and keep it clean. This isn't one that we do kind of pride ourselves on. We get our point across without the use of foul language or innuendo by being clever. Now, we do understand sometimes that people get caught up in the moment. We understand sometimes people slip. And emotions can run a little bit high sometimes, especially during those rivalry games. But we do kind of ask him, please, if you do have that moment to catch yourself and quickly ask yourself, would I feel comfortable in trying to explain what I just said to a child? If the answer is no, don't say it. Okay? That's kind of one of the things that we pride ourselves on. And now, number 4, for kind of our rules of engagement, pay attention to the game. Okay, nothing's going to get you on our bad side faster than not paying attention to the game in progress. That means during play, try and keep your phones, tablets, or any other electronic devices that you've got put away. You can go 5 minutes without checking them. You can Facebook or updating Twitter or uploading videos to your Instagram or whatever. Or, if you're got them out and kind of recording things here for the game, hey, great, share your experience. But if you're just using it to update your social media, you can do that during intermissions or during breaks. You don't need to have it out while the game is in play. And put yourself in the athlete's shoes and you're in that kind of a situation. If you got people that are out there to watch you and they're not actually watching the game, and they're too busy and being engrossed in their phones or whatever else, that's kind of a little insulting, wouldn't you think? Now, some things that we will do for pregame, and again, in here, I am going to go ahead and say that a lot of the stuff that we typically have within our cheer guide is very hockey centric, being that hockey is kind of our marquee sport or it's something that it is kind of exclusive to us. This especially for universities within the state of Nebraska. Yeah, especially when you kind of consider there's maybe about around only 70 universities nationwide that participate in men's Division I college hockey, even less when it comes to the women's side. Hey, now I will say, unconfirmed rumors that possibly we do add a women's side at some point down the road. Again, I say unconfirmed. You got a whole can of worms there with Title IX. I mean, if it does happen, at this point, I don't really know. Well, I am not any part of that decision-making process. If it happens, it happens. But these are part of your pregame more about for some chance that we do have exclusively for pregame uses, especially when it comes to hockey. And of course, one of the bigger ones, scratches. So, before every game, scratches will be announced, both not only for us, but for our opponent, with opponents' scratches always being announced first. And typically, after each name of a player is announced, we will give kind of our own made-up reason as to why they're being scratched. And typically, our go-tos for this are after a player is announced as being a scratch, which will typically yell out either a combination of drunk or dead. Now, sometimes that might change up a little bit, especially when we're playing in Denver, where we do kind of make a lot of Oregon Trail references, such as snake bite, typhoid, cholera, drowned, and all kinds of different other things like that. And it really kind of depends on the opponent sometimes. Like for instance, a few little examples here. If you got a dog or a cat mascot, spayed, neutered, roadkill, euthanized. Horse mascot, dog food, glue. Again, Denver, dysentery, cholera, typhoid, snake bite, drowned. Now again, and given the variety of different names for opponents that we have out there, this is all subject to change, depending on who we're playing. And if you're ever not sure, come find a member of the Maverick Maniacs, or even better yet, during the hockey season, go talk to the Red Army. They typically already know exactly what they're going to do. Even before they get to the game, for the different scratches. Now, when it comes to our scratches, our usual go-to for that, regardless of what any reason might be for any of our guys being scratched, is always, why? Even if we know why they're scratched, as we know they're sick, we know they're hurt, we know something's going on. Every time one of our guys gets announced as scratched, our typical response is always that why. Now then, and from there, we start getting into some stuff that we'll do when starting lineups are announced. Now, our go-to there, after each player is announced, typically we will always yell out, "Who cares?" And that is, it is usually done after each player for their starting lineups are announced. Once they get to coaching staff, if that can actually be continued on by adding on after the coaching staff is announced, with "still don't care." Now, once we get to our starting lineup, and this is pretty simple, try to make as much noise as you possibly can, and give our guys and our student athletes at least that little boost of energy at the start of the game that they can feed off of yell, scream, if you bring cowbells or whatever you can into games, when they're allowed to, which typically right now that means you're bringing cowbells in for soccer and hockey. Unfortunately, they don't allow them for volleyball and basketball. Yeah, I know. Oh, kind of lame on the part of our conference, isn't it? But just in general, try and create that atmosphere that our student athletes can feed off of right away. Give them that little boost of energy. Now, one thing, and other thing is national anthem. Now, typically, we really won't do too much with this, except when North Dakota comes to town. For those of you who know why, well, you may know the reason why as to we have something for the national anthem. For those who don't, allow me to explain. Now, North Dakota has a very bad habit at the conclusion of the national anthem to always yell, the dead name for their university programs. Now, whenever they do come to town, especially for hockey, they do kind of like to show up en masse. So whenever we do play them, we're kind of encouraged to just kind of belt out the national anthem, try and help drown them out. Now, don't worry about it if it sounds like you're screaming, even or yelling the anthem. The goal is to basically just drown them out so nobody hears them. Now then, one final thing that you can do for pregame. Typically every game, our PA people will take the time to thank everybody for coming to the game. Kind of a quick way to kind of warm up your voice. Just get ready for a night of losing it. After they do that thank you announcement, is to basically just kind of yell back, "You're welcome!" That's some of the stuff that we can do for pre-games and the like. Kind of get you warmed up, get settled in. Now, again, like I said, I'm going to be breaking in. You can all of this down into about 4 different videos over the next 4 weeks. So next week's something that you can look forward to is some of our general in-game cheers, chants, and cheers. So that's something that you can kind of look forward to next week, Maverick Nation. We look forward to seeing you. And again, those in games for our athletic year will be starting up here August 10th with that exhibition game against St. Louis. This for soccer. Official games that will actually start counting will start up August 15th. Looking forward to seeing you all out there. And of course, as always, go Mavs!